The Suicide Squad. Let's talk about it. Hello heroes and villains, welcome to Multiverse. With the Suicide Squad vs Justice League game coming out, I thought maybe we should make a Suicide Squad video. I already made a Suicide Squad video way back when. I will put the link to that video in the description down below. In my previous video, I did take a look at various members of the classic Suicide Squad. Here, we're just going to take a look at the 4 members we get with the Suicide Squad game. So we can make a very decent version of the classic version of Deadshot in this universe online. We could use the hand cannon, hand blaster's weapon with our Deadshot character, but for some reason my armory doesn't want to imprint it. But the expert marksman gloves works well enough, and the headpiece is the official Deadshot headpiece in this universe online. The same with the back piece, come to think of it. We'll take a look at the whole style in just a second. For the chest piece, the triangle chest piece was as close as we can get to Deadshot, the Techno Belt, and the Astro Slimline pants. For the materials, I'm using Steel Neon Chroma 2, Red Metallic Chroma 2, and Red Metallic Chroma 3. Almost forgot the Crosshairs emblem. You can get that straight at character creation. So it does give us a pretty darn good version of the classic version of Deadshot in this universe online. But as I mentioned, we do have an official Deadshot set of gear in this universe online, the Expert Marksman. It is a PvP set of gear, so you could get it playing a PvP if you want to, but if you go to the House of Legends, you can simply purchase it from Lady Shiva. Next we have Captain Boomerang. We don't really have the styles we need to recreate Captain Boomerang in this universe online, although we do have a perfect emote for Captain Boomerang. Oh yeah, one more time. And sadly, we don't have the Captain Boomerang weapons in the games, at least not just yet. The closest we would have would be to use the Batarang from our friend, the Batman. Again, sadly, it's not exactly it, but within the context of this universe online, you do what you can with the styles you have. It's not exactly it, but with the color schemes and the boomerang floating around your character, people will probably understand that this is Captain Boomerang. For the chest piece, I went with the Lethal Zealot. The gloves are the Dr. Fate gloves. The belt, the vesture of Proselyte. The River Slimline, but any Slimline pants will do the trick. For the feet, I went with the Vestment of Rage. It's not exactly it, although the Battle Hawk might do the trick, depending on which version of Boomerang we're talking about. Or maybe the Owl suit. So we do have a Boomerang accessory in this universe online, but somehow we don't have a Captain Boomerang style. At least not yet. Although another option I guess would be to just give him a trench coat. At some point they did what they tried to do with every characters when they tried to make them look cool. They gave him a trench coat. The Gunslinger works well enough, I guess. I would have been tempted to use the Vengeful Surgeon, but I wasn't able to get the front part of the chest piece blue, so I went with the Gunslinger instead. For the gloves, I'm using the DC Bombshell Harley. You can get those gloves from the marketplace. They often gave him some sort of scarf, so the Kryptonian kerchief did seem to be a good idea. Although, if you do use the kerchief, you lose the Boomerang accessory. Sadly, you will have to make a choice. Decisions. For the headpiece, we did not really have a headpiece that kind of matches with the headpiece that Boomerang has. Although the beret, the classic paramilitary headpiece, worked well enough, I thought. So it's not exactly it, but it's close enough to a modern version of Captain Boomerang in this universe online. Although we do have a full Heatwave set of gear, we have a full Captain Cold set of gear. You have to wonder if they will ever give us a full Captain Boomerang set of gear in the future. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see for that. And next we have the evil Harley Quinn. Although it is pretty challenging to try to recreate the classic version of the character, this is about as close as I was able to get. We do have the Harley Quinn headpiece. But that is pretty much the only classic style we have for the character. For the face mask, the classic ocular domino works well enough. For the shoulders, I added the spindrift shoulders because sadly that is the only way I could get the emblem on the character. For the back piece, a bazooka seemed appropriate enough, so this is the Clown Prince. You can get it from the anniversary event right now, so get it now before it's too late. And for the chest piece, it's the Jester's Affection t-shirt. We will get the Valentine Seasonal next week, so it comes from the Valentine Seasonal vendor. For the gloves, I went with the Psycho Gesture. We'll take a look at the whole style in just a minute. The belt, it's the DC Bombshell Harley. Again, we'll take a look at the whole style in just a minute. For the pants, I had to go with split personality. There's not a lot of asymmetrical styles in DC Universe Online, and sadly, when it comes to pants, this is the only one I could find. And the boots, again, I went with the Psycho Gesture. Oh, almost forgot, the Haha accessory. And there's also the Laughing accessory. So within the context of DC Universe Online, this is as close to our friend to the classic version of Harley Quinn as I was able to get. But we do have a few Harley Quinn sets of gear in DC Universe Online. For example, we have the Punchline set of gear. For the doll, it is not part of the gear, it's the Joker doll accessory. It is a PvP set of gear, so it pretty much means that you will have to play PvP and purchase it from the PvP vendors. Although, you can also purchase it from Lady Shiva and the House of Legends if you don't want to play PvP for whatever reasons. Doesn't really look like Harley Quinn, but it's one of those styles that way back when was only kind of inspired by the iconic characters. This here is the DC Bombshell Harley Quinn style, although I am cheating a little bit. It is a style you can get from the marketplace. And there's also the Bombshell Harley Quinn hairstyle. It is not part of the Bombshell Harley Quinn style, it's actually sold separately in the marketplace. Like as you see, if you use the Bombshell style and the Bombshell hairstyle, you end up with two pair of goggles on your character. So you may have to make a choice, either you use the goggles or you use the hairstyle. Using both doesn't exactly work really. And on the back of the jacket, you can see the evil Joker. But I kind of like to tweak the look by having the hairstyle and the classic face mask. And adding the bazooka seems only appropriate for our friend Harley Quinn. And next we have the Psycho Gesture. Although I wasn't using the headpiece because I wanted to use the hairstyle. So here, this is what the style actually looks like. And you can see there is the emblem on the hammer. And there's also the emblem on the shoulders. I think the hammer might be the only weapon where you can have the emblem of your character, but I could be mistaken. And also, you can also get the hammer as a weapon. To get the hammer, you have to defeat Harley Quinn. And sadly, there's only a 5% chances for the hammer to drop. So I would suggest just buy the hammer from the broker. For the Psycho Gesture style, you have to get it from the Birds of Prey vendor in the Birds of Prey Metropolis map. Although there is also a baseball bat that you can use if you want to kind of sort of recreate Harley Quinn from the Suicide Squad movies. So there is a few official Harley Quinn styles in DC Universe Online, but sadly for the classic style, all you really have is the headpiece. And there is the evil King Shark. We can make a pretty good version of King Shark in DC Universe Online, although as you can see, sadly this is pretty much the new 52 version of King Shark. I wish they gave us the classic version as well, but maybe next year. Some of the styles come from the Suicide Squad pack from the marketplace. So this is where you can get the shark gloves, the shark fin, and the King Shark doll accessory. Although for the fin, you can also get it from the summer seasonal vendor. And that's also where we got the Boomerang accessory that we did use with Captain Boomerang. For the headpiece, you can get it from the summer seasonal vendor. For the shoulder, King Shark doesn't really have a shoulder piece, obviously, but I thought the Asteroidia was a good choice. For the boots, I went with the Son of Menta so that we could get the little fins behind the legs of the character. For the shorts, I went with Egyptians, but you could use any type of shorts, doesn't really matter. The same for the belt, I went with the Kryptonian Medico, but you might prefer to go with King of the Seas, or maybe even the Aquaman belt, you decide. For the aura, ideally I would use the bubble aura, but the seafoam aura works well enough. And of course, if you go to Atlantis with your King Shark, you will be able to swim. So with the Suicide Squad vs. Justice League, the game that's just being released, thematically speaking, making a Suicide Squad video did make some sort of sense. Although seeing how the game is being pretty much trashed right now, and there's a lot of controversy surrounding it, maybe it's not such a good idea. I guess we'll find out soon enough. One of the big controversy, spoiler alert, basically they kill Arkham Batman in the game. They literally have Harley Quinn just shoot him in the face. It's that simple. A lot of people are pretty much insulted by that because it was supposed to be the last appearance by Kevin Conroy as the Batman. Although now it would seem that we will see Kevin Conroy as the Batman in a couple of other projects. But way back when, they were hyping this project as the last performance of Kevin Conroy as the Batman. I guess you have to wonder how many times they will milk that idea. From what I understand, there will be at least 2, maybe 3 other projects where we will hear Kevin Conroy one more time as the Batman. But still, people are pretty insulted to see the way they've pretty much disrespected the Batman, especially seeing how supposedly it is supposed to be the official Arkham Universe version of the Batman in the Suicide Squad game. So people who did play the Arkham games are pretty much insulted to see that this is where it all leads. Basically, it ends with Batman being shot in the face by Harley Quinn. So if you are a fan of the Arkham games, if you're a fan of Batman, and if you're a bit, well, let's say unhappy right now, I understand. You have to wonder what they were thinking. I did not talk about the Suicide Squad game very much, so let's talk about it a little bit here. When they first announced the Suicide Squad kills the Justice League, you had to wonder what they were thinking. I guess they were trying to be edgy by having the Justice League being, again, spoiler alert, I guess they were trying to be edgy by having the Justice League being killed. But it's worse than that. It's the way they're literally going out of their ways to pretty much disrespect the characters. I was going to say piss on the characters, but they literally do that. Like basically when they kill the Flash, Captain Boomerang literally pisses on the Flash. So it seems to be a bit more than just trying to be edgy by playing evil villains and killing the Justice League. They literally went out of their way to piss on the classic characters. I have to admit, I'm still on the fence about whether I will try the Suicide Squad game or not. We're gonna have to wait and see for that. But again, you have to wonder, what were they thinking? It could simply be just that all they really wanted was to humiliate the classic characters. It seems to be a trend that we're seeing more and more in movies, TVs, comic books. But you have to wonder, why make a game where you play the Suicide Squad? Why not make a game where you play as the Justice League? Imagine if they had made the reverse, if they had made the Justice League versus the Suicide Squad, and you actually play as Superman. You play as Wonder Woman, as the Flash, as the Batman, and you defeat the evil Suicide Squad. I guess they could even have had a PvP component, heroes versus villains. Although we saw with DC Universe Online that sadly most of the players will play heroes as opposed to villains. Which again brings me to, what were they thinking? Like, we do have a perfect example that people want to play the heroes. When they give people a choice between heroes and villains, most of the people will play the heroes. So imagine if they made the Justice League game instead of the Suicide Squad game. Imagine if you could play as Superman instead of playing as a Killer Shark, or if you could play as the Flash instead of playing as a Captain Boomerang. But from what I understand, what they really wanted was to make a shooter game. But it seemed to be the idea they had. They seem to have figured that if we play as the Suicide Squad, we could play as a shooter game. They could give guns to the Suicide Squad and have the game simply be a shooter game. Oh well. So they decided to make a shooter game, and they thought, what could we attach to that? And somehow the Suicide Squad is what they came up with. So anyways guys, enough rambling. So there we go guys, so this is our Suicide Squad video. If somehow you like the Suicide Squad, but you do not want to play Suicide Squad versus the Justice League, you can actually play the Suicide Squad in DC Universe Online. You decide.